The work is done. The 2025 NFL Draft is in the books. Cardinals, after having what I thought was an excellent night one with the selection of Walter Nolan with the 16th overall pick, followed it up with a weekend of selections, and now we get to break down what they were able to accomplish. And I think the right place to start is to just look at this positionally, to not discuss any of the names. What they did across all of their picks, I'll go in order. D tackle, corner, edge, linebacker, corner, guard, safety. If you picked up on the theme, the Cardinals invested heavily on the defensive side of the ball. All but one selection was on the defensive side of the ball for the Arizona Cardinals, a group that everybody saw as a much-needed area of improvement for this team. Didn't have the juice up front to get after the quarterback, to put pressure on Brock Purdy twice a year, to put pressure on Geno Smith twice a year, now Sam Darnold, to put pressure on Matthew Stafford twice a year, all the other NFC quarterbacks that they're going to go up against. Nobody felt like they were a feared group up front. It was going to be a nice, easy day at the office when you drew the Arizona Cardinals because they may get pressure here and there, but it was not sustained. It wasn't constant chaos. It wasn't throwing a quarterback off platform. And that's what you have to do in today's game. You can have the best corners in the world. Quarterbacks are going to be able to find tight windows. They're going to be able to make those throws. The way you generate a difference on defense is getting these quarterbacks out in space, throwing them off platform, and allowing your DBs to try to make plays. And that's what the Cardinals lacked last season. No sustained pressure. Quarterbacks could just dissect the defense. I think we all would agree they had a pretty good secondary last year. It was just those guys were getting picked on because they can't match up with wide receivers. They can't guard wide receivers forever. And so there needed to be a heavy emphasis on the defensive side of the ball. You saw it in free agency, and now you saw it in the draft with all but one selection coming on the defensive side of the ball. So other than foregoing a wide receiver with any of their picks, isn't this exactly what we wanted the team to do? Isn't this exactly the roadmap that we outlined for this team for the NFL draft? Defense, defense, defense. Go back to what we said the positions we would target were. Defensive tackle, edge, corner, wide receiver, offensive line. Other than not taking a wide receiver, which I think is a mistake. I think they missed an opportunity there, but okay. They did exactly what we wanted to see them do every other spot in this draft. So just from that view alone, you have to love what the Cardinals did. You have to love that their approach and their vision for the draft matched our vision and our approach for the draft. What we saw wrong with this team, they also saw wrong with this team. Even after investing resources on defense, they said, no, we're not done there. We're not stopping here. We're going to double down. We're going to triple down. You have to love that part of this for the Arizona Cardinals.
I also thought they attacked a lot of experience in the draft. Not a lot of guys who, only played 1 year. They, especially as you got deep down the board, you went 2-3 year starters. Birch is a guy who's played a lot of football and was extremely productive. Listen, sacks in college football aren't always numbers that jump out at you. It's just a different game than the NFL. Ball comes out faster. Quarterbacks have 1 to 2 reads. So sacks and production numbers just aren't as high. And to see a guy like Birch, who missed 4 games last year, still have 8.5 sacks, that's outside of what they did in round 1 and 2. Cody Simon, another guy who's played a ton of football. I really like what they did at the bottom half of the draft. And the one offensive pick they made was guard, which is a position we've talked about that they needed to be deeper at. And another guy, Connor's played a lot of football at Texas and has seen a lot of different great players in the SEC. So, listen, they went for experience. We talked about it with their first round pick with Walter Nolan. They went substance over sizzle, and it kind of continued through the entire draft.
Yeah, it was their theme for the whole thing. This isn't going to be flashy. It's not going to be sexy, but we're going to go trench. We're going to take a D tackle. We're going to take an edge. We're going to take a linebacker. We're going to beef up the front seven. We're going to take some extra depth on the back. Now, are all of these guys going to end up being major contributors and starters? No, that's just not how the NFL draft works. That's not how the hit rate on these picks work. But yeah, it's process oriented. And I love the process from Monty in this draft. And let's face it, you can say all of the nice things about Monty's first two drafts, right? You can say all of the niceties of what he was able to accomplish. It's different when you're picking where they were picking this year. It shows me a little more about your ability to have a well thought out process. And I think they passed with flying colors. And it has taken us nearly the entire segment to talk about what may be one of the steals of the draft, that the Cardinals get a guy that we thought they might need to take at 16. They get at 47 because injuries move him down the board. They snag Will Johnson on round 2. And if you're concerned about the medicals, if you're concerned about what his knee might potentially look like down the road, just know the Cardinals were definitely doing work on Will Johnson as a first-round player. He slips into the second round. They felt comfortable with where his medicals were in comparison to the value they were getting where they took him. And oh, by the way, this is not the first time that the Cardinals have taken a corner on day 2 of the draft. This regime, a corner on day 2 of the draft that has a knee injury and had some questionable medicals. Does everybody remember this team drafting Garrett Williams where they did? Guy who was coming off of knee surgery, and if it wasn't for that knee injury, if it wasn't for that knee surgery, was going to be a first-round pick. Sound familiar? So I trust the Cardinals. I trust their medical staff to have checked this out, and they felt very comfortable. And if Will Johnson, whatever the long-term concerns are with his knee, because it's more of a long-term thing than it is a short-term thing, if that pans out and it is not a short-term issue, the Cardinals just got to steal at 47. They got somebody who is a lockdown, shutdown corner to go alongside with what they drafted a couple years ago in Garrett Williams. And that's just, it was a freebie. Oh, I'll just take him at 47. Oh, could have taken him at 16. Well, nah, we'll just wait. Take him on day 2. An absolute steal. An absolute home run. You also saw them take 2 kids out of Ohio State to continue that pipeline. They clearly have an affinity for certain programs that they know produce NFL players at a pretty high clip. I think overall a really great job by the Cardinals. Mel Kiper gave it a B-, although should we be mentioning Mel Kiper's name these days after the weekend that he had?
That has to be one of the worst weekends in sports media I've seen in a long time.
It was not a great weekend for Mel Kiper. I don't know if you had that save for the leftovers. I didn't want to quick snap you there.
No, I didn't.
But boy, was it a bad weekend for Mel Kiper Jr. because after night 1, and we talked about it, and by the way, I'll throw my hands up. I was wrong on the Shedeur Sanders stuff. I thought he was a lock to go at the top of day 2. Didn't even make it. Day 3 got selected. But not only, we talked about the Cardinals doubling down on their draft philosophy and their free agency offseason philosophy. Mel Kiper doubled and tripled down on his slander for the rest of the NFL for what they did, or what he thinks they did, to Shedeur Sanders by allowing him to slide all the way into day 3 and into the latter stages where the Browns ended up taking with their 5th round pick is where he went.
5th round.
He had
144th pick.
Tough weekend for Mel, but he gave them a B-. So that's what he graded the Arizona Cardinals at. PFF. Now, do you think PFF hurt us because they went to letter grades for their overall draft class grades? We were critical of them on Friday with this elite, good, very good, trying to figure out what it all meant. They went to letter grades. And I'd like to think that maybe we played a role in that. They gave the Cardinals draft an A+. Chad Rauter of NFL.com gave it an A-. So great remarks across the board for the Cardinals for what they were able to accomplish. And yeah, I would agree 100% with these grades because substance over sizzle. We said that on Friday. That was our takeaway from night 1. It was sizzle for the first couple of years. This was just a good old-fashioned meat and potatoes draft. We're just going to beef up the interior of our defensive line. We're going to beef up our secondary. We're going to beef up our linebacker group. We're just going to beef up in areas that we think we need to get better after already addressing those in free agency. I was very happy with what the Cardinals accomplished this weekend. It's not sexy. It's not flashy. It's not a bunch of skill position players that can get everybody excited for fantasy football, but it is the type of draft where we had a major question mark about where this defense was. And we'll talk about this a little bit in hour number 2 of the program. You start to get the feeling that our concerns may shift back towards what the offense is going to be able to do over what the defense is going to be able to do.